Hi everyone, and welcome to Dentist Coffee Break. So, let's talk about smiles. What is it exactly that makes a smile beautiful? Is it just pure art, something you can't teach? Or is there a science to it, a code that we can actually learn and master? Today, we're going to decode the smile and break down the principles that take a restoration from just good to absolutely breathtaking. And that really is the big question, isn't it? As clinicians, we're trained in science, in precision. But the second you mention the word aesthetics, it feels like we're suddenly supposed to be artists. And that can feel, well, a little intimidating. It makes you wonder, is this a talent you have to be born with, or is it a skill you can actually build? I think the answer is going to surprise you.
You see, the truth is, dental aesthetics has been a science for a long time. We're talking over half a century of development. It really started back in the 70s with the fundamentals of making full dentures. Then, as our technology got better, so did our aesthetic principles. We moved to PFM crowns, then fixed bridges, and with each step, the focus got sharper, from the whole mouth down to just a few teeth. And now, with implants, the level of precision we're dealing with is just on a whole other level.
And this whole evolution brings us to a really important fork in the road. You can go down the old path, the one that sees aesthetics as this unpredictable, subjective art form, which, let's be honest, is kind of intimidating. Or you can take the modern path, the one we're exploring today, that treats aesthetics as a science. It's systematic, it's learnable, and most importantly, it's empowering, because it gives every single one of us a clear roadmap to success.
So, our goal today is really simple. We're going to pull back that curtain. We're going to completely dismantle this myth of the born artist and replace it with a clear, logical framework. This is all about giving you the tools to confidently look at and design beautiful smiles, all grounded in principles that we know actually work. And to do that, we're going to use this really powerful framework that I like to call the aesthetic funnel. It's a simple, top-down approach that keeps us from getting lost in all the little details right away. We start big with the macro view, the entire face. Then we zoom into the mini view, the smile itself. And finally, we get down to the nitty-gritty with the micro view, the individual teeth. It's a system that brings order to what can feel like chaos. Okay, let's start at the very top of that funnel, the macro view. You know, before we even dream about a single tooth, we have to understand the canvas we're working on. A beautiful smile has to feel like it belongs in the patient's face. It has to be in total harmony with their entire facial structure. So, what are we actually looking at here? We're looking at things like overall facial symmetry, the vertical and horizontal proportions of the face, and, this is a big one, the relationship of the smile to the facial midline. Think of it like this. An architect would never start designing a house without studying the landscape first. Well, the face is our landscape, and the smile has to look like it was meant to be there all along.
All right, now that we've got the lay of the land, we can zoom into the next level of our funnel, the mini view. This is where we start analyzing the architecture of the smile itself. We're talking about that intricate dance between the teeth, the lips, and the gums when a person smiles, laughs, and talks.
Now, in this mini view, we break the smile down into its key components. We're looking at things like the smile arc. Does the curve of the top teeth nicely follow the curve of the lower lip? We're looking at gum display. How much do we see? We're even analyzing the buccal corridor, those little dark triangles at the corners of the smile. Every single one of these elements is a critical piece of the puzzle.
And right here in the mini view, we run into some really cool scientific principles. Maybe the most famous is the golden proportion. It's this mathematical ratio that you see literally everywhere in nature and art. And of course, we've adapted it for dentistry. It basically suggests that when you look at a smile from the front, the lateral incisor should look about 62% as wide as the central, and the canine should look about 62% as wide as the lateral. It just creates this incredibly harmonious, natural flow.
The science gets even more specific when we zoom in on a single tooth. Take the central incisor, for example. The ideal width-to-length ratio is right around 78 to 80%. Now, this isn't just some random number. It's a super powerful, evidence-based guideline that helps us make sure our front teeth don't look too boxy or too skinny. This is a perfect example of science giving us the blueprint for our art.
Okay, and that brings us to the very bottom of our funnel, the most detailed level of all, the micro view. This is where we get to look at all those tiny characteristics that give each tooth its own unique personality and make it look truly alive. Now, this is where the artistry really comes into play. But remember, it's all built on that scientific foundation we just laid. Here, we are all about the fine details that scream realism. We're analyzing the tooth's shape. Is it more square, or tapering, or ovoid? We're studying the surface texture to mimic that natural anatomy. We're carefully shaping the incisal embrasures, those little spaces between the tips that give teeth separation. And of course, we dive deep into the incredibly complex world of color and translucency that really breathes life into our work.
But wait, we're not quite done. After we've gone all the way down the funnel, we have to remember one absolutely crucial thing. A smile doesn't just exist in a still photograph, it has to work in the real world. And this brings us to this huge overarching principle. Aesthetics and function are totally inseparable. So, everything we've talked about, all of our aesthetic goals, has to work hand in hand with two other critical sciences. The first is occlusion, the science of the bite. This is what makes sure that beautiful smile we just created is also stable, comfortable, and healthy for the long run. And second is phonetics, the science of speech. For instance, the position of those upper incisal edges against the lower lip is essential for making F and V sounds. I mean, a gorgeous smile that gives someone a lisp is, at the end of the day, a failure.
And that brings us full circle. The question was never art or science. It was a false choice all along. Truly world-class aesthetics is a synthesis of both. The science gives us the blueprint, the rules, the predictable guidelines. But it's the art that gives the final result its unique character, its soul.
So here's the big takeaway. Creating a beautiful smile isn't magic. It's not something reserved for a handful of gifted people. It's a marriage of artistic principles that are guided by predictable, systematic science. And what that means is that this is an achievable goal for any dedicated clinician who's willing to learn and apply this kind of framework.
Which leads me to one last question for you. We've talked a lot about the science, the proportions, the principles, the rules. But beyond all that, what do you think gives a smile its unique character? What's that final, maybe intangible thing that defines true beauty for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so share them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. This is Dennis's Coffee Break. Bye-bye.